I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really?
I can be friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
The Democratic field in 2028 could have the party looking for their own version of Donald Trump. Strategists say there's never been a better time for a political outsider to succeed. I guess they mean it like that. And they're throwing names around like billionaire Mark Cuban and sports commentator Stephen A. Smith.
So 20 years after they last won a popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
What's a different definition?
I pointed out, he was voted for because they considered him closer to normal than what the Democrats were.
In front of millions of people, Stephen Miller simply destroyed them live on The View. And they're not doing a good job of handling it, I can assure you. Joy Behar attempted to bring up a topic in a recent interview that was never intended to be directed at Stephen Miller. What was the reaction she received? She was really destroyed by it. She went into full-blown TDS mode instead of embracing reality, refusing to acknowledge the facts that were directly in front of her. Here's what Stephen Miller said following The View, though, before I play the footage for you.
Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in the first month or so, or 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the Black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters? Didn't he win the popular vote for the first time in 20 years as a Republican nominee? Didn't he also win the electoral college vote? Isn't he in control of the White House? Don't the Republicans have the House and the Senate? All of that happened, but there's no Trump mandate. You see the bullshit? Is it bullshit, or is it just that the Democrats are so damn lost that they're actually going to convince themselves they can do the same old and still regain power, both in the midterms and in the 2028 election? I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen, because Trump has the power now, and he's manipulating the proceedings. And in case you didn't notice, one of his top boys, Elon Musk, Doge, owns X. Who else was at the inauguration? Jeff Bezos. The man running TikTok. And Lord knows who else. And then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame.
Believe me, he stated just this on The View. But watch what happened to Joy Behar and the others when they first heard it as well. Their responses? Priceless. The instant they realized they had no chance of recovery was evident. What's the best part? They weren't only upset. They appeared to feel deceived by their own supporters.
Trump's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the fact. facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. Yeah. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won a popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted gears. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Since the beginning, the room had never been silent, but you could sense the tension change as soon as Stephen Miller spoke. Did you witness Joy Bihar's response too? She was so taken aback that she seemed unable to comprehend what she was hearing. Stephen seemed to have betrayed the Democrats in front of them. But believe me, things get better. I'm going to show you what everyone was shocked to hear about Stephen Miller. Let's continue first, though, as you are about to witness the vista being disassembled in real time.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that. Don't continue to do that. Find a new strategy.
But do you think those groups, the black voters, the Latino voters, and the others that you mentioned, are they going to regret it soon?
Possibly. I think so. I don't like what I'm seeing from Trump. I didn't like what I saw with Zelensky. I didn't like what I saw with a few things. But in the end,
Zelensky?
the point, I didn't like it. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. The American people, in their eyes, it wasn't about him. They were voting against what the Democrats were throwing in their direction. I don't only talk to Cuomo. I did interview Eric Adams. I did interview Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I interviewed these people. I've talked to them, and I'm going to talk to some more of them, too. And I'm going to say the same message. What are you doing to win? I love Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. I love John Kerry of Pennsylvania, okay? I just interviewed Cuomo. I like him a lot. I want somebody to step up and recognize that man in the Oval Office, whether you like it or not, is potent. He's coming and he wins. You got to find a way to beat him. This way is not the way that the Democrats are doing it.
Let's talk about how people are feeling about his performance.
Notwithstanding the fact that Stephen Miller was spouting facts, they sat there and paid no attention to what he was saying. Our so-called Whoopi Goldberg was in disbelief, as if she couldn't believe Stephen was criticizing his own party, and it seemed as though they wouldn't even consider it. However, since ratings are all that matters to them, Sunny Hostin simply dismissed his comments without really engaging in a counter-argument. And if you listen carefully, Stephen Miller was just expressing common sense. Instead of acting as though they are not the issue, the Democrats should stop worrying about Trump and begin fixing their own disaster.
A CNN poll this week found that 52% of people disapprove of Trump's performance in office so far. So even though he may have won the general election by less than 50%, 52% disapprove of what he's doing. We're also seeing Republican voters at town halls opposing his executive overreach, giving Elon Musk the shadow presidency. Yet you said, quote, Trump is closer to normal than what we're seeing on the left.
Yeah, I was talking about why he won the election.
So?
When I made that statement, I was talking about, that was before the election.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
So when during the election, I said, in the immediate aftermath of the election, I pointed out, he was voted for because they considered him closer to normal than what the Democrats were spewing. That was what I said at that particular moment in time. Now, obviously, Elon Musk is an entirely different matter altogether.
Right.
This man is not an elected official. He has a big difference about the Senate or anything, but he's got an inordinate amount of power.
Given to him by Trump.
I can understand how that could scare the living daylights out of folks, and the approval ratings. Obviously, we pay attention to that. But here's the bigger question. Who on the Democratic side are the American people pointing to and saying that's the person?
Well,
they don't have anybody.
Since the Democrats will never change, there is no one to single out here. Like on The View, they all move in unison. They attempted to portray Stephen Miller as one of them, which is why he even said what he did. Here's the reality, though. What people genuinely think is not what the Democrats want to hear. Instead of confronting actual problems, they only conceal the facts, feed their supporters utter drivel, and promote false narratives about Elon Musk and Doge.
We're 6 weeks in with
National Voice.
Right.
We're 6 weeks in with
Jeffries.
Everybody said let him do what he's doing so we can see what's going on. So, and now people are saying, well, what are you going to do as a Democrat? Well, wait a minute now. Y'all didn't want to hear what we had to say as Democrats because that wasn't what people voted for.
true.
So now we have a clear definition, and the American people will decide how they like what he's doing because now it's affecting in a way that people were not anticipating. People who didn't think they would be affected, like the folks who work in the federal government, they never saw this coming.
And
They
people can't
never
make
saw this
omelets
coming. Sorry
anymore.
about that. People can make omelets. Everybody doesn't eat eggs. Not a fan. But I like chickens. But I'm not a fan of eggs for the mouth.
There won't be any eggs left for you since Biden has already slaughtered all the hens, so she won't. What really impresses me is how they all say the same thing. Instead of even attempting to depict reality, take a hard look at what I mean when I say that.
Just after the election, in November and December specifically, Joe Biden ordered the murder of over 145 million innocent hens nationwide. Hens, if you didn't know, lay eggs. The official line after the fact from the Biden White House was that the hens had to go because of the bird flu. And I just think it's interesting that all of this happened after Donald Trump won the election. They did this after. It's almost like Joe Biden knew that doing that would cause egg prices to go up, which they did.
They seemed to be unaware of what was going on and quickly pushed their propaganda on us after pulling this prank. In actuality, however, they were the ones who initially caused this whole situation. They are acting as though they had nothing to do with the system's breakdown.
I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of groceries, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing but goose eggs to lower prices. Instead, he's pardoned violent criminals who savagely beat police officers. He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw to vital government programs, and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data. Social security numbers, tax returns, health care. He's fired thousands of essential workers, people who help our veterans get their benefits, people fighting Ebola in Africa so it doesn't come here. He's frozen funding for vital programs that so many American families need. Cancer research, education funds, payments to family farmers, and so much worse. Why are they doing this? Trump, Musk, Doge are taking these vital services away from you for one reason only, so they can give tax breaks to their billionaires club. Their plan is awful, simply awful. Billionaires win, families lose. And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And it's evident from this that the Democrats have shifted so far to the left that no one even wants to listen to them anymore. They have alienated regular Americans by pushing their agenda so aggressively. According to polls, more than 70% of people thought Trump's address was great because he broke down the lies and told the truth. These same woke elites, meanwhile, hyped up Biden's alleged furious speech for a whole month. And now they're backtracking and rewriting the story just like they usually do.
The Democratic field in 2028 could have the party looking for their own version of Donald Trump. Strategists say there's never been a better time for a political outsider to succeed. I guess they mean it like that. And they're throwing names around like billionaire Mark Cuban and sports commentator Stephen A. Smith, who was on the other day. I personally would like to see Ana Navarro and Cha-Cha running. I think Cha-Cha will be a very good vice president, better than Vance. Question: should Democrats?
She was actually born a lap dog, didn't turn into one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, should Democrats consider any and all options?
No. I mean, we have an outsider in the White House right now, and look how well it's going. You know, I mean, it's just, Stephen A. Smith at least admitted here.
He talks too fast. I can't follow him.
Well, he admitted.
She is unable to follow him and refuses to acknowledge that what he is saying is correct. For this reason, you only hear people criticizing Trump and not supporting him. Even now, the public is unaware that their party is rapidly declining too. the point where recovery will be nearly impossible.
Well, the bar is pretty low in terms of who would be qualified to be the president of the United States. He admitted that he is unqualified. So I think we can take that name out of it. And Mark Cuban has also said he's not interested in running for the president of the United States.
So who do you think? You got an idea?
Well, I think that someone that has experience, if we want to talk about meritocracy, let's have maybe a governor who's used to...
Like Pritzker?
Governor Pritzker,
who's from
absolutely
Illinois.
fantastic.
I like him.
I happen to like Gavin Newsom. I do think I like Fetterman. I do think that Bashir is great. I think if you look at Hakeem Jeffries, you know, I like Hakeem. I think there is a field. There are a huge field of people with experience.
Amy Klobuchar is there, Gretchen Whitmer is there.
Look,
Gretchen would be great.
We've seen the past 10 years how women do as presidential candidates.
Well, but we're going to have to keep on trying until we get there.
If we keep saying the country's not ready, you never see when the country's ready.
Oh, so now they're focusing on gender rather than who is truly the best, which is precisely why they haven't been able to connect with their own people. All they ever do is promote racial and gender quotas rather than concentrating on competency. And guess what? It's never worked. Now, they're trying to elect someone based solely on their gender, saying that women are capable of doing better than men. They won't stop until they get their way. But in reality, they never will, because they don't listen, and their perception of reality is so different from reality.
First question, but you, when Stephen was leaving, she said, nice to meet you. I disagree with you.
Yeah, I do.
And I was curious, and so that's why I was curious.
I do, on the mandate, on Donald Trump and his administration having a mandate. And we have to be super mindful and careful of this because he does not have a mandate. And what I mean by that is if you look at the numbers, just look at the facts. He won with the smallest margin of the popular vote since the 19th century. There was no coattail, meaning that it is the House is at a razor thin, and he's on his way in the first 100 days to be the most unpopular president in their first 100 days. That is not a mandate. In 70 years.
The word man is in there.
Well, that's questionable.
But I guess the question is, The View proudly invites a woman who can hardly answer a single question correctly as a political analyst to share her so-called insight, even though, if I were her, I wouldn't even dare to speak about anything. This is like a blind person leading another blind person, and eventually they're both going to fall into a trap.
I'm friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them. I mean, the thing about it is it's not just about politics. It's about morality, ethics. It's about cruelty. It's about discrimination. It's about a lot of things. So those are personal human values. We're not really just talking about fiscal conservative who pays more taxes. We're talking about you as a human being. So it's hard to be friends with someone who signs on to something like that. On the other hand, they're open to discussion. I like to talk to them, find out what exactly do you know about this guy.
Perhaps you forgot, but this is precisely who they are. And the individuals applauding are the true idiots, as they don't even need to be aware of Trump's past, regardless of whether they voted for him or not. Just seeing what he's doing for them should be plenty. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe.